Hello out there in YouTube land. Again, this is Morris Man, and as always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. Appreciate the comments and the subscriptions. Really appreciate them. Today, I'm going to do kind of a follow-up to a video that I did yesterday called How to Get a Good Tone on Your Guitar. And this video is going to be entitled Different Guitars, Different Tones. So I'm going to actually take you through some of my guitars and give you a visual, which I think is really pretty good idea. Each time, you do videos, you think about how you can improve on them. And I'm going to kind of give you or walk you through some of my guitars, give you a visual of them, and how do I use them, to get the sounds I'm looking for. And the first one is my Turser, which is kind of my workhorse. I use this guitar mainly for my Now Rogers kind of stuff because this guitar sounds very much like a Fender Stratocaster. And to me, it feels a little better because I've played Stratocasters for many years. And the only complaint I had with them was they just didn't feel good as far as playing them. Even when I adjusted the bridge, changed the strings, it just felt like the strings were not slinky and they were real stiff and rigid, So it's not a guitar that I would play for long periods of time. But this guitar here, single cord pickups, I usually put my setting in the middle. I use 8, the lightest gauge strings I can find, which is usually 8. I kind of go between 8 and 9 in gauges. I don't go no higher than 9. 10, 11, 12 are too thick for me. So I kind of stay away from those. But as far as my Stratocaster sound, my Now Rogers sound, this is definitely my go-to guitar for that. Now, we talked about yesterday as far as rock guitars, so getting that rock sound. And again, hands down, Gibson Les Paul. This guitar can give you that sustain that you need to play a lot of rock songs because of the humbucking pickups. But this is to me not a guitar that I would take out and kind of do a funk gig because it doesn't have that real bright, snappy sound. But it does have that rock, raunchy, rough type of sound for rock applications. And what I noticed when I received this guitar, I was using a lot of other guitars to do my rock covers, but I noticed that when I got this guitar, when I just hit that power chord, it'll ring out for a long period of time. Because a lot of these other single chord guitars, when you do the distortion on those, when you hit the power chord, it dies out quickly. And a lot of songs, like a lot of Kiss songs, require that sustain for a little longer. So what you find yourself doing when you don't have a Les Paul is kind of hitting that power chord twice. And it really doesn't kind of work out when there's a song where they just hit that power chord once. So again, definitely Les Paul if you're looking for that rock tone. Now, as far as my Telecasters, these are some very versatile guitars. A lot of people use these guitars mainly for country western applications, but I've used it for funk. I've used it for country and western. And surprisingly enough, I use it for a lot of Motown stuff because the majority of the Motown stuff where they had those memorable lead lines, they used the Telecaster. So to me, the Telecaster is probably one of the most versatile guitars I've ever played. I love it. I used to play my Stratocaster almost, exclusively for like 10 years, but I kind of went back and forth with the Tele, and then once I kind of decided to stay with the Tele because as you get older, your hands are just not as fluid and flexible as they used to be. So this has a thinner neck, and again, you can get all different types of tones from this guitar because a lot of people just kind of wrote off it's a country and western guitar and that's it. But actually, you can do all types of stuff. So this is definitely my go-to, another go-to guitar. I take this guitar out for studio work and for gigging because I can play it for long periods of time because the neck is so thin. And what's interesting is there are no two guitars alike. Even though This guitar is identical to this guitar. They're both Squires, and they both were made in China. But this guitar here, the neck is slightly thicker, and the tone is slightly thicker. The pickups are a little more hot, meaning that, you know, when I plug it in, sometimes I have to come down off the volume because it's so hot. But this one I kind of have to crank up. And again, I put my guitar settings here, and my tones, or my volume is always up on 10, and my tone is always on 10 also when I play. So I try to get the maximum tonality. But that's interesting that no two guitars are the same, even though they're the same model. And on that note, I'm going to kind of share a quick story. Whenever I listen to other guitar players on YouTube, you know, I leave a positive comment. If it's something I don't feel that I need to leave a comment, I just don't leave one because I don't believe in leaving anything negative, you know. It's all about trying to be positive. But sometimes I get this. I like the cover, but you should try these chords here. And I know some of the people that leave me those comments have good intentions, but you have to realize there are no two good guitar players that play the same. You can get 50 guys in one room and ask them to play this one song, and they all gonna play it differently. The voicings are gonna be different. The feel will be different. So, you know, I try to stay away from that because, or I would like for other people to kind of steer away from that because I don't play like you. You don't play like me. So I think sometimes, again, the intentions are good as far as try this chord, but normally I try to be as accurate as possible. If I'm not playing off the sheet music, I tab it and I tab it well. You know, now the voicings, I usually even try to match that up pretty well. So here's a suggestion, and it's not a rude comment by no means or negative. The energy just spent on sending me comments as far as try these chords. Go to some guy's site that's struggling in the beginner and help him because trust me, I'm good. You know, I've made a great living out of playing music. I've been playing for 30 something years. So I'm not saying that I'm not open to still learning because I am, but basically what I'm saying is don't need any help. And the information or the help that you're trying to do, again, which is I believe is heartfelt, go to some guy's site that's just starting out and kind of give him pointers and spend that energy on, you know, trying to help him because, again, I'm good. And like I said, no two guitar players play the same, so don't expect that, you know. So I just thought I would mention that. But again, these are two guitars are exactly the same, but they feel physically different and they sound a little different. So thought I would mention that. Now, here is probably my most favorite guitar. And ever since I've had that humidity issue, I've been keeping this in the case. Now this definitely, it's a Horner Marlin model. And how I get to get this guitar, I got it off of eBay for about $50. There was this lady said she was trying to learn guitar and she just gave it up and stuck the guitar up under her bed. She said she just thought she'd get rid of it. And initially I was going to give it to my nephew because when he comes over, he wants to play my guitars. So I bought it and I said, this is a really nice guitar. And I said, you know, I really don't want to give it to someone who hasn't learned yet because they wouldn't give this guitar any justice. So I decided to keep it for myself and actually bought him another one. And actually the other one's pretty good too. But I love this guitar. It's extremely light. It has one of the nicest necks that I've ever played. The neck itself is just made very well. It's made from older wood. I think this guitar is like a 1980 something model. It just feels good to play. The tension on it is really fluid and loose, so I can really play well on it. And I can get all types of tones here. I can get the bright stuff. I can get the jazzy stuff. You know, I can get the rock stuff. You know, so this is definitely a workhorse. Whenever I go out and gig for extended amounts of time, this is the guitar that I take because it's extremely light. And actually, I've been trying to find another one on eBay, but I haven't been lucky enough to find it. But this was a rare find, and Horner actually makes pretty good guitars. Not just that guitar that Prince plays, but they make pretty good guitars. So, again, this is one of my workhorses. And I try to take good care of that one. Now, here is my Turser that everybody loves. And it's a beautiful guitar. And I use this for my jazz stuff because like most people years ago, I was led to believe that in order to play true jazz, you got to get one of them big old guitars that you can barely put your arms around and get that jazz tone, which is not true. When I bought this guitar, I had a quote unquote jazz box, and within 2 days I got rid of the jazz box because this guitar felt the void. Because actually, jazz box didn't have that thick, rich sound to me. But that's one reason why I think because I have sticking like gauge strings on it. Because for jazz, I do believe that you might have to go up a couple of gauges to kind of get that thick sound, that warm sound. And this one came with colored strings, which I never replaced because I'm at the point now where if it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it. So it's not, the strings are not dirty. They still feel good. This guitar has a humbucker and a single coil, so it gives you kind of a unique sound. And the sound is very warm. But the neck on this guitar, to me, is not extremely comfortable. It's kind of thick for my taste. It's not a guitar that you would take out and play for hours. I usually use this for studio work. It gets the job done, but definitely not a gig guitar. Definitely wouldn't take this out for a gig. So that's that guitar. And actually, I'm going to do a quick review on another Turser guitar. I actually had this guitar before, and actually when I got my workhorse, I felt I can part with it, which was not a good idea. What I like about this guitar is it's extremely light too. This is definitely another guitar that I would take out for gigs because it's extremely light. The neck is thin. It has a really nice thin neck, but durable, and it's a nice looking guitar. It's kind of like a quilted type of grain to it. It has that bright sound too, kind of like the other Turser. It's definitely a guitar that I would take out again for gigging purposes because it's a nice looking guitar and it sounds pretty good. The issue that I have with Turser is Turser make a lot of guitars. I mean, they literally make hundreds of guitars and they don't really have a model, There's nothing on this guitar that gives me identification where if I go to the Turser site or a company or whatever and say, I want this particular model, so it's no name on them, no model number. So you just kind of, searching in the dark to try to find this particular model because I sold this guitar again because I had this other one. And I decided to go back and find another one. It actually took me like 8 months to find the one exactly like the one I sold, which is this one. It's even the same color. So it's a real good guitar. I only paid like $60 for it. First time I think I paid like $120, and it was worth it. And actually I seen another one last week that I was going to grab that was again like this one because it's a pretty good guitar. And I missed the auction. I had some other things to do. It was an oversight. And guitar one got sold for $49. So I'm sure whoever bought it is enjoying it. But that's my only beef with Turser guitars is that they don't give you a model number. Now, I'm going to say this and then kind of wrap this up. Like I tell you, the majority of guitars that I own, I didn't pay a lot of money for. And they sound good, so don't get caught up into that marketing nonsense that in order for you to be a good guitar player or sound good, that you got to go out and spend $1,000 on the guitar because you don't. But unfortunately, classical guitars are an exception to that rule because not like with electric guitars, and here's our age-old argument that people want to argue with you about that they talk about when it comes to guitars, the electric guitars, it's about the wood too, and it's not. Basically the wood, all the wood does to me is hold up the electronics because it's all about the pickups and the strings. That's it. It got nothing to do with the wood as far as the sound of your electric guitar, but people will argue with you that it is, but it isn't. Again, the wood just holds up the electronics for you to play in the neck, so years I used to believe that too, and then as I got older and started asking questions, and I actually talked to some people at the company that make electric guitars, and they told me off to the side that no, wood is not a super big deal for electric guitars. But for classical guitars it is, and the reason being is the sound comes out of the hole. So that's why the wood does play a big difference. And like I said, you can get a good electric guitar for pretty inexpensively. But unfortunately for classical guitars, you might have to spend a little money to get a good one, because this is a Cordoba model CEC5, and it's electric. It had the EQ, had the electronics here. The very first one I bought had the electronics and the EQ and the electrical plug. And it cost me $600 used. And it was a beautiful sounding classical guitar. Then I sold it, and then later on I bought another one that didn't have the electronics for about $200, and it's worth it. These guitars sound great. I've had other low-end classical guitars, and for some reason you hear a big sound difference. You know, this one comes off really clear, really crisp, and it feels good to play. So unfortunately, in order to get a pretty decent classical guitar, you might have to spend a couple of $100, several $100s. So I've yet to try to find a really good one that doesn't cost that much, but I haven't found that one yet. Because like I said, this one was used without the electronics, cost me about $200. But again, it's worth it because this guitar sounds really good. So that is going to kind of wrap up things. I just thought that I would give you a visual of some of my guitars and their purpose and the sounds that I get from these specific guitars. So on that note, I'm signing off, and until next time, take care. Thanks.